Today on Lulz, Chris Spags, you know him from Splash Play, from his appearances on the Stochastic channels, and a man about the DFS and sports betting town. We're going to talk to him about what goes into making it work, making a living as a content creator, and also what happened with his sports betting startup. It'll be a great conversation today with Chris. This is Lulz with Pete and Bric. Let's do it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS cats pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right, Spags, back on the channel. How have you been, man?
I'm excited to be here. Actually, was talking with Pete a little bit because really enjoyed your guys' stream with Greg Ehrenberg a few weeks ago. And I'm on here to admit I was the one who hacked their playback. I'm there running gay porn all over the place. It was really an elaborate scheme to cost myself money as a contractor just for the bit. But no, it was honestly really one of the funniest streams, I think, related to DFS I've seen in a few years. So glad to be on here on the show with you guys.
I know. I feel like Brian and I, we had the big, Run Pure Sports, Ship It Nation streak of shows, but we've really been trying to chase that dragon of drama again. And so a porno scandal on Stochastic, I mean, that was as close as we were going to get to our high mark days, I think, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, Spags also just ruined like a bunch of bits I had already, ready to go. Like, are you going to admit what you've done?
Oh, sorry. We weren't on the same page.
No, yeah, nothing.
I had to defend myself because you guys Bric kept throwing me out as a culprit, and Greg would be like, no, it couldn't possibly be Spags. Whereas like Spags would never post Hitler stuff, which I think of all the things that are associated with my brand, I'm pretty anti-Nazi for most things. But I would say that, I get to defend myself right away, get it out. But I didn't know you were going to string it along, Bric. I'm sorry. Kill your fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I would say where there's the similarities, Chris, is because it sounds like whoever did this to the Stochastic, had a bone to pick with those guys, really wanted to stick it to them. You've been known to maybe have some adversarial relationships with some of your fan base, an antagonistic relationship. Do you worry about a Splash Play stream potentially getting hacked and showing gay porn and Hitler?
So not worried about the gay porn thing. Nobody has access to the streams for the most part. Maybe Pete, I guess you could still come in perhaps and
I would be the one that has access to get in there.
So you wouldn't do anything to me. So I think that rolls out most of the culprits. The worst thing that happened to Davis on stream today. I was trying to work out hop in a big board draft because I haven't done enough action there this year, to be totally honest about it, especially off stream. And some guy in there ruined the draft on Davis's stream, like was drafting, like he got sniped, I guess, on Zay Flowers, and then was just like taking shitty players who don't get drafted, like AJ Barner and whatever, from round 5 on. And like the guy was apparently watching Davis's stream because he had mentioned some esoteric player, and the guy took him in the 20th round. And it's like, so you're getting that level of trolling. Like I don't want to be a part of that, get sucked into other people's trolling that ruined my hour.
I know I had a draft on Best Ball Breakfast like a month or so ago where a guy took Hollywood Brown 101, clearly a star method mistake or whatever, wanted to make sure he didn't forget about him. And so then I just autoed it because I'm like, I'm not wasting my time doing an on-stream draft that's going to get tossed out. Apparently he went and then made normal picks the rest of the way and it didn't get tossed out. So I just autoed a team. So these guys get you no matter what. You can't win against them.
Yeah, now poor Davis just wanted to have a nice draft on stream, and he wrote it out the entire time, turned it into a bit. But it's funny to get sucked into somebody else dealing with trolls because I mentioned before on stream with Pete on one of our best ball streams previously, like there was a guy who hopped into every draft I had done on stream. He ended up being in about 40% of my on stream action that year, and it's like that starts to feel a little bit invasive. Even though one thing I've learned is you're apparently encouraged to let your audience gamble with you because that's sort of one of the metrics you get looked at for affiliate deals and such.
Do you think that guy should be banned and draft thrown out in all cases? This is a kind of a touchy thing. I think we all agree. I know Pete does. We feel like they get a little too trigger happy on getting rid of some of these drafts because it's just like that guy's just a donkey. Like you don't need to get we don't want to kick all the donkeys out. That's how that's the whole way you can be a person who has an edge in these skill games.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to think that I would give them maybe a 1-strike, 2-strike policy at most, but like it is a long period of time. And I think to me, candidly again, and I'm wearing the underdog shirt today, like I re-signed my deal. I'm happy to be doing it again for another year. But I do think there's some things where I could tell maybe a little bit of lag heading into, the fifth year, people really going aggressively at best ball and putting a lot of drafts in. I think one of them is how much time it takes. And if you're taking that much time, you don't know if the draft's even going to exist, past that day. It's a little bit of a tough mechanism to have, especially, for people drafting this time of year where maybe they don't even want to be drafting, but they're just doing it. And then it's like, oh, cool, I did one draft and it's been ruined.
And I do think it's pretty much impossible to do just automatically, right? There are some of the drafts that get thrown out algorithmically, specifically in the dailies, where like these combos happen at a threshold less than X percentage. Therefore, we're just going to remove these from the pool to kind of make sure that everyone's working under a level playing field. But then there are, I think in the 18-round, 20-round best ball drafts, there's way more ambiguity to what is actually happening. Because I do think there are a lot of star method people who are like, I just want to make sure I get this guy in this draft. I'm going to put him in my queue right away. And then shit happens. You get distracted, like you miss a pick or whatever. Next thing you know, you just hemorrhaged 100 picks of value. Should that person be thrown off the site? Should that draft be thrown out? It's like we should allow people to be able to draft poorly, make bad decisions, not be on top of it. But also, if it happens too much to the point it results in someone building a super team that no other drafter would reasonably have access to, then that's an issue. And so it's like it exists in this gray area that I think is really hard to police or come up with a solution for.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do that. I want to say this really, really quick because Davis disagreed with me. And with Davis, he might have just been disagreeing because he was Davis and he wanted to disagree in that moment. But like the idea that sports betting and mainly sports betting, but DFS and best ball is kind of like this too. The allure of like poker was that it's like this skill game that you could play and get good at and beat, and then theoretically make a living off of. Kind of transferred over to DFS. A lot of poker players transferred to DFS, and that's still, I think, like the zeitgeist of DFS, although it's kind of waning a little bit. But with like sports betting, if you're limiting players and stuff like that, you're in they're really trying to push the whole more like lottery aspect of parlays and stuff like that. I think they're doing themselves a disservice where they should be leaning more into like, hey, this is a skill game. You'd have to stop limiting people to be able to do this, obviously. But like with sports betting and best ball too, it's like, 'cause the reason this triggered me is Pete said to make like a level playing field. It's like, well, you shouldn't want a level playing field, like not you people, just like your skill based best ball bro. You're spending all this damn time learning how to play and game theory and all this stuff. Like, why you don't want them throwing out lineups that they think are, maybe it's leveling the playing field. It's like, this is a skill-based thing that I want to like make money off of.
But the difference is, like, say if it was a DraftKings contest, right, where there's like a really bad lineup, everyone in the pool benefits from that bad lineup. The equivalent in underdog would be like, you got to draft your team, Brian, with a $55,000 salary cap, and I had to draft mine with a $50,000 because some guy gave you extra value that I never had access to in my drafts.
But like poker's even worse than that, though, right? Because you're playing like a 6-man cash game table. You guys don't have access to that at all unless you're at my 6-man table with the donkey, right? And so no one complains about that in poker or heads. Poker's even the pinnacle of that. Like,
I would say for most of it just comes down to like the willfulness of it. Like I think most things in life where it's like, are you willfully ruining this draft? Like this guy apparently tilted because he couldn't get Lamar and Zay Flowers. They had a slight ADP difference. And it's like, you're then tanking the draft because of that. So you know what you're doing enough. Whereas if somebody's just drafting, whatever, Ashton Genty 101. I mean, it's like not that far off. This guy just thinks he's going to be the best running back ever. I would agree. Like let that guy keep playing for the most part. But like on a site like now, like Underdog, where there is so much sharp action and everybody really knows what they're doing. I think this stage of the game, maybe some people know what they're doing and then they're going to do something completely stupid knowing that. But I think that's sort of where the game is now that like, if somebody does, mess it up, they kind of ruin it for everybody in the entire tournament potentially.
Well, like even that example, like in poker, like we have like videos of Tough Fish, famously tilting off stack after stack to EM2. Does poker stars go, oh, we're going to party poker at that time, take this money back from this table because you guys didn't get a chance to get it, and then distribute it evenly. I don't know. And I think also it hurts it hurts all of you, all of us, by not making it this skill-based thing that attracts a bunch of new people to try and beat. Right?
Yeah.
If you're the more you make it this, like ELO type of thing, like in video games where they try to match up the players of equal skill level or something, it makes it like less interesting, less fun to play for a lot of people. But maybe I'm wrong at that, because like Davis's argument was like they don't care, they just want to gamble, they don't give a shit. And so maybe that is the angle you should go, and just make it even, and it's just a pure lottery.
Well, and what normally happens, right, especially like in the dailies, say on the unique combo front, if there's someone doing weird stuff or someone's just really bad or they're throwing a draft and then someone gets this insane combo that ends up winning, then you get everyone else complaining, saying, how did they get that? I didn't get that. And then the irony is those same people who are complaining will do hundreds of drafts in hopes to get that one unicorn combo themselves, and then would want to protect it at all costs, right, Brian? Because that's what aligns with your interests if you're the one able to get that. And so it's just like, it's a fucked up situation no matter what.
But you couldn't do ELO for gambling either, I think, or at least, for an underdog, because I play Overwatch. It's one of the few things I do with some regularity over the course of years. And I know I'm a platinum one, like I'm no big deal, the guys don't. I'm not Bric and Madden, but I do pretty okay. But like you get on those levels, and it's like you have people that'll sometimes start new accounts and start from bronze and climb all the way up because they got stuck for whatever reason, whether it's bad team matching or something like that. So for underdog, it'd be a little bit harder to do because I think your stuff's tied to your social. But theoretically, you could open the door then for somebody abusing lower tier stuff in the same tournament they should be playing with platinum tier or whatever, and that would be a thing where you're like LeBron going against sixth graders at that point in best ball, which wouldn't be also not good for the ecosystem.
I think that's part of like why chess is not super popular too. Like like for casual people to be like, I'll take a spin, because it's like there's no way you're gonna win. Like it's not as fun. And there's no money in it, right? No one gambles at it because this ELO's super hard to do in gambling, to your point, Spags. Like, I don't think they could even do it. I was just like more like saying like ELO in quotes, by eliminating these donkey lineups, you're kind of building in a soft ELO. Go ahead, Pete. I see you want to say something.
Oh, no. I was just processing it all. And Shady mentioned too that this dynamic happened in DraftKings had a high stakes 10K best ball tournament, and he's saying it was unplayable last year because they did some early influencer draft that had super teams. So that was the one that I think had the Barstool guys and some of those other people in it. And so if you were able to sneak into that room randomly, you are just absolutely printing, versus everyone else hopping in a 10K best ball draft theoretically knows what they're doing.
Sure. But you probably got some donkeys playing a whole bunch of best ball after watching Portnoy draft and like get excited about best ball, and they never heard of it. Maybe not that 10K specifically, but it might have been good overall for DK best ball.
It's good for Justin Herzig making bets on Twitter. I think that's one thing I saw.
Well, getting denied, offering bets and getting denied on them. Yeah.
Spags, were you worried that you were like, hey, this is my path, leaving Barstool and becoming a best ball bro, when you saw Portnoy and Big Cat doing it, where you're like, what the fuck, guys? This is my lane.
It is honestly one of the funniest bits. So that obviously happens with DraftKings. They're DraftKings Sportsbook partners. So they started doing some best ball promo. But with Underdog too is one of the things I had to come up with my deal, where I'm like, they've hired Caleb Presley, who I used to work with there. They've hired Carabas. They've hired Tyler, who does a great show, but like I've known him. Coley, I've known for years. All these guys used to work with, and they're throwing them stupid amounts of money. And I'm like, guys, can I get like a CPA increase by $10? So like basically it's like this really tough negotiation. So yeah, it fucks with me a little bit personally, to be honest, because I could have rode out the storm there, and I didn't want to, because that's just not who I am.
Well, a lot of those guys obviously built up individual either shows, right? Yeah. Or like in Caleb's case, like a video series that became massively successful. I think the business behind that is really fascinating. You could probably speak on it too, where like the Barstool infrastructure and platform obviously brings so much eyeballs and attention to it. And then there's probably this push-pull of like, is it a Barstool IP thing? Like, I'm curious even how that worked with Caleb. Like, is he able to, it's like, he's just doing interviews. He could call it whatever he wants. It doesn't have to then be Barstool's thing. And then it's like, who created who? I think it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Back in the day, they used to make it where you couldn't take your IP, and then it changed. Because actually, when I left, I had a dating podcast when I was there called Swipe Drunk Love, which I was doing with a girl, and this guy Smitty, who I think is still there, but he's like in a weird state with them, I think, what I saw on Reddit recently. But basically, like, we were doing this podcast, and it was in this weird no man's land where like Dave didn't want to promote it, so you kind of are promoting it yourself, but you get access to the platform for a little bit. And obviously, the platform back in 2017, 2016 is not what it is now, where it's almost like kind of like a factory churning out these people that find audience if they do anything remotely unique. Even things that are other concepts like playing a game in an office or whatever, like the Among Us kind of stuff. Like they're like, oh, Barstool Among Us, and this person now has like a thing they've built that theoretically has value. But yeah, it's like one of those things where those guys were there for years and they kind of stuck with it. Whereas for me, I left a little bit early in the process, and at that point, like I had international fame. So if I'd stuck it out, it probably would have been more valuable for me. But I was just like so shell shocked from the experience that I just kind of wanted to do something else, and that's where I ended up doing DFS.
It would make a lot more sense for you to done your gay revenge porn thing on Barstool than Stochastic. I mean, I don't get it.
No, you're right. I don't only have access for Barstool. I still have their Slack for some reason. Like I get emails. It's like, oh, this producer joined their Slack. I'm like, great. It's the one thing I have. But they immediately took access to me for everything, like everything I had, like the day that I like gave my notice, basically, or agreed to whatever the exit agreement I had. They were like really protective of it at that point, because they were like, they thought, I guess like you guys would, that I would go off the edge of that. And it's weird because for me, that's one thing I would never do. Like I'm not gonna fuck with people's stuff, even though it would be funny. I'll say mean shit about them, but I wouldn't like fuck with their stuff.
If what happened to you, and this is revisiting history, but if that was now, you would be fine.
Oh yeah. I mean, I honestly would have been fine then if I played it differently. My thing was I was really like the social media experience. Like I had death threats. I had one guy who like went to my Instagram page and threatened and his like handle was like re Navy fan, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm going to go to your house and break in and kill your dogs. And I'm like, dude, this is like too fucking much for, a joke that I made, not thinking it through the day after Memorial Day weekend. So like that made me really like step back. And at that point, I thought my career would go in a different direction. But like there are people who reached out to me who were like, you could lean into this and like cancel culture. And like, obviously that's become a much bigger thing since that happened in 2017. But like, that's not me. Like I'm super Libby. I know people hate that, but like I am super Libby.
I mean, when you left Barstool, because for how you made a living for a while, right, was kind of strictly through like typical jobs, right? W-2 jobs. And then in the past 3 to 4 years, you've kind of taken a different approach as far as cobbling it together as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur. What has that, transition been like?
So I had taken my first jobs were in public relations, and I had launched a men's site called Guyism, which at this point, the only thing it's known for, Andy Isaac, who you guys might have seen on Twitter, was one of my co-founders there, who was a big deal at the Saturday thing. Really great guy, passed away recently. But he was one of the co-founders. Katie Nolan, also one of the people there who we hired on early on. And she was basically, because I didn't want to be like Dave Portnoy at that point. I didn't want to put my face out there as much, just kind of wanted to write blogs, do the business stuff. She became kind of the front-facing person, and we helped her get to Fox Sports. And then obviously she went to ESPN and has made millions more than any of us in the creator economy will make. But yeah, for me, I went kind of that way to then getting the job at Barstool, was a full-time employee there. And then kind of started to do some different stuff, started with Stochastic as a contractor, then became full-time. And now, it's kind of refiguring it out. I think now is probably the most fertile time, at least for me. And seeing guys like Pete too, I think deserves all the credit in the world for, kind of building the stuff he has up. I think it's the best time to try to work for yourself. I also think it's also the worst time to find jobs that pay well enough, like I was making at Football Outsiders or at Barstool. Those jobs don't exist in the space, I think, so much anymore. So working for yourself, I think, is going to become more of a thing, whether you're like me and you have some sort of track record, or you're just somebody, like some of the guys in the chat right now, who like are trying to make a thing because they just want to create a thing.
And some people know about kind of what happened with the Football Outsider, but that was kind of more the final straw that broke the camel's back, as far as you being like, all right, I'm going to kind of go about this completely on my own without a full-time job.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically, I could read the tea leaves there. And, Pete and I never really talked with this, I think, on any content too much. But like Pete was, being paid by Football Outsiders to do splash play, was getting, his normal freelance rate. And that was the thing that was really nice for me. It was part of the reason I took the job, was we could kind of grow that, incubate that. And, and also have something to get my friends some money was like a nice thing. And then basically they stopped paying some of the freelancers. It ended up being sort of acrimonious too for me at the end, where like I'd gotten promoted, did the best job possible. Football Outsiders was a 20-year-old site. They had the most traffic, most subs they ever had. Like a lot of the shit I was doing was working really well, but they couldn't dig out of all the previous investment they had taken. They were like really over invested for the previous things that they were doing, both like Football Outsiders and mostly some subsidy companies that were like selling betting data modeling stuff to SIG, Susquehanna Information Group, and stuff like that. They're doing interesting stuff, but like wasted a ton of money to do it. And Football Outsiders kind of had to reap the shitty benefits of that. And then, this is a thing that I haven't talked about too much publicly besides on my streams, but like Aaron Schatz also totally fucks in the end to take a job at FTN. So FTN is like one of my, I'll give you guys the drama here. FTN is my least favorite company in the space after what they've done across multiple places I've been. Like they're, thumbs down, big thumbs down.
And then from there is kind of when you went, full bore into doing a ton of splash play streams. And then also, I assume this is around the time kind of the ideation for the Probably app began.
Yeah, so basically started thinking about Probably when the tea leaves were kind of there for Football Outsiders, where we had missed payroll a few times, and like I could sense like something great wasn't there. I just kind of wanted to have another project, and I also knew they wouldn't tell me like no. So if things kept being good there, I could start a startup there and kind of bring it along slowly. What ended up happening is like they ran out of funding entirely, couldn't keep getting people to pay our salaries and whatever. The company itself wasn't making enough money to cover all the staff, so they just stopped paying people and just kind of went away. So Probably then kind of had to get rushed out for me more, and I had to get things going faster. And at that point too, like, when you're losing, they had, Pete, I had fallen behind a good amount of money. I'd fallen behind like legit $50K from Football Outsiders and salary they owed me. So to not have that, and then to also have to pay for a startup kind of put me behind the 8-ball. But we made a good product with Probably. It's just like when you can't have kind of unlimited coffers to run something out, it's a tough battle if you don't get the investment right away.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed following along. You were doing kind of weekly posts that were both promoting the product, but also kind of like letting people in behind the scenes at like what was going on, like what were the roadblocks, what were the next steps. And it was exciting to read because it felt like, I mean, the product, you had a very, a product that, had a demonstrated value. And it seemed like you were like on your way to, finding a market fit. So like what happened between that and basically having to shut it down?
So basically we had launched, I think September of 2023, I want to say. And it was like mostly a beta product at that point where it didn't have the filtering and stuff. And what Probably was, what it would do is very similar to what an Odd Shopper does now, what OddsJam has done before, where basically you're taking sort of a market-based probability, whatever you kind of do to create that formula. The sites will be different, but we had back tested like a 10%-ish ROI, 10 to 15%, depending on the sport. So we felt really good about it with kind of, and for Brian, and people who care about the stuff, using like a Pinnacle baseline with a little bit of back testing on top of that for which sportsbooks are outperforming others, and using that data to create like a true probability. So it's like a really cool product. And again, there are other products out there doing it now even better, like OddsShopper, legitimately worlds better in terms of getting stuff in fast. But basically this product was like mobile forward. We're trying to compete with more of the props.caches and those. There's another site, Outlier, which are just like garbage products made by people that don't know betting at all. And it's like your last 10 games of data, and people are supposed to prop bet off of that, basically being lambs led to the slaughter. So we wanted to make this really sharp product and put it out there, and basically got it out there, wasn't fully ready, then got the premium stuff going in November of 2023 and started to get some signups, but like it was costing me throughout the development process and throughout the launch process about $4K a month. When you're initially testing, the AWS cost would rise because you're saving millions of bets to databases. Cost me $9,000 1 month for just AWS costs. So you're getting like bled dry from the moment you start even development because you run out of credit so fast. So it's like if you're not making a lot of money fast, and I just wasn't able to kind of get that traction just for myself right away, you're sort of digging out immediately.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, right? Like, and you see like how hard it is to like make contracts with other people or get people to help. I always found in my few years of kind of doing something semi-similar, it's like every deal is like such like either falls apart or it's so like it's hard to come together to make it worthwhile for both parties to begin with, and then even sealing that deal is hard, which is why this kind of like buy yourself model that like Pete does is really appealing, I think, to a lot of people if they can pull it off anyways. I also think like a lot of this company stuff is kind of just like old school. Like I'm like Football Outsiders just made me think of this, where it's like you don't, it doesn't always have to be, oh, I have a company and I hire 15 employees and pay them full salary and stuff. In our world, like a bare bones stuff is probably like the way to go. Like remember when Stochastic first started, it was like just like a spreadsheet on a plug and play website. Like you don't have to pay anything. You have no overhead. Like you could probably just make money on something like that for a long time. And the more complicated you get with AWS fees and stuff like that, which we just paid ours for the first time, it's just
welcome to the club. It's a lot of fun.
Eventually, you're just like, why am I doing any of this at all?
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, Spags, how much did you end up investing in Probably?
I mean, between the various debts I took on and, and the money out of pocket is probably like a good, I would say close to 100K all in. But, when you believe in something and it's your thing too. And I was also working on it with one of my best friends from high school, is my son, Luca's godfather. And like, he was an engineer at Amazon previously, had worked some other startups as well, Cabbage, who got acquired for a lot of money. And he was in a similar spot with his job, working full time at Macy's. And he was like, this is awful. I don't want to do this anymore. So we tried to really go whole hog in it. But it also became a thing too, where like he was a great coder at a certain point too. He ran out of personal runway. So like the last like 3 months, we had like a funding deal that was so close to the wire before the NFL season. And it seemed like we had it. But he had kind of had to disengage because he had to start making some other money on other projects and whatever. So I was kind of just like literally on an island alone for the last 3 months. And it was tough because like we had a product that I know works, that I know from some of the people who signed up, like they made money off of it. That's all good. And like those people, I hope, made enough money to justify like, how much money I lost, because it's like, it's tough. Like it's tough to have something where it's like it's working, but it's not working enough to pay off. You have to try to make something premium. You have to pay premium costs, like Brian is saying.
Yeah. So what are kind of the takeaways from that? Because I think for a lot of people, that is kind of like the dream. If you're doing solo stuff, that you do eventually start a site, whether like Brian with some friends, rather like you with someone else, and you try to, take more of a moonshot than just, making, a quote unquote good living or whatever. So like, what are the takeaways? Does it discourage you from wanting to attempt that again? Or is it like, hey, I think I can learn from this and I still want to go for it?
I think for me, the lesson, and I keep the Probably domain because like I might just at some point launch like, I was really thinking like a bunch of like Replit tools I built that I think are kind of fun, but I don't really want to put those out there unless I know they work the way they're supposed to. And maybe as Bric may know, and some other people out there in the chat may know, like Replit's not a perfect tool and it does some stuff that's interesting, but like any of the AI builder tools, like can do some work, but it's not, you got to really oversee it in a way. It's actually tweeting about those shit my money today about it, where it's like, you have to kind of treat them like the lowest run intern employee. But you can build stuff now for cheaper if you want to do that. But I think for me, what I learned was like, number one, if you're going to launch a startup, like again, like Brian is saying really astutely, as little as possible money, like spend if you can. If you are going to spend money, have it budgeted down to the dollar. Don't just put money in because like, I know money's going to come at some point. It'll be fine. And I can, just take this on as equity in the company later on. That's how I approached it. And it was like, no, I'd prepare more for like the outcome if we just didn't find funding or the customers didn't pay enough money to kind of make it make sense. Besides that, what I learned is like, it was just better for me to try to make money off of me. And that's something I'm still honestly kind of uncomfortable with. Like part of the reason, and people ask a lot, and I don't even know if I mentioned this to Pete at any point, but like part of the reason I haven't really booked anybody on Splash Play for the last year or so is like, I feel like I had to build something that actually has value in the ecosystem that people like want to watch and like care about. And obviously, with me and Pete having to not, do the show together as regularly, like that was something for me that was really important, is like to build something real that makes a connection. So I think that's sort of where I am with things, like trying to build something that matters, do something different with the content I'm creating. And hopefully, that'll lead me to where I'm going to do in terms of, building trust with the audience, but also having opportunities then to sell them shit endlessly. Sort of the goal.
I would say just, sorry, I was just gonna say on that, I think you're being too hard on yourself as far as like building up all this value or whatever. Like ultimately, I think people want to watch you have fun, and like you bringing on a guest that you're friends with, it doesn't have to be this transactional exchange where they're getting all kinds of value, like if you bring on someone you genuinely enjoy, that doesn't feel like a chore for you, like I'm hosting this person, then I don't think you have to worry about those things it sounds like you were maybe worrying about.
No, I think that's fair. And it's probably one of my insecurity things, but it's also, like people do these things for free. And I guess for me too, it's always like, I'm aware of, what people's time is worth and, and how much it takes out a day, especially when you have like kids and family or just a lot of work. Like, you're like Brian, you're playing Madden and you got a company to run, you got slates to big gamble on and bets to get in throughout the day. Like it's a lot. So I think it's definitely a personal flaw thing, but it was something to me too, where it's like, I just kind of wanted to build something on my own and know that it has intrinsic value. And then hopefully now that like it kind of does, hopefully I could sort of open the walled garden a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm with Pete. I see your perspective, but yeah, I'm with Pete too, because I like the aspect of like it's kind of like a group, not it's a loose group, and some groups and there's little groups in between. But like Neil was in chat earlier. I don't know if he's still here, but like if Neil wants us to ask me to go on his show or whatever, I don't feel like, oh, how many views can Neil get me on this show at all?
Not that many.
Shots fired. But it's fun, going on shows, and like we had Greg on, like the last week, like who give it, like it doesn't matter. Like that's not gonna like superly help Stochastic's bottom line, probably, be on that show, maybe a little bit. But like it's fun being, just in a group of guys who we all know exactly what we're talking about, right? And we don't have to like backstory explain every little reference we're making and stuff like that. It's always fun. I did want to say this earlier about like your like the journey part is, I think people don't understand how hard it is. Like when I first started the Draft Caddy, like getting subs is really, really hard. Like getting people to care at all is kind of the opposite of how we always thought growing up. Is like, oh, everyone is always looking at me. What do they think about me? They're always think no one cares about you at all. Unfortunately, maybe that bully wanted to pick on you to like raise their status level in high school or something, but like really no one gives a shit. And it's hard to get eyeballs and you started with like, a decent following when working for major companies. Pete worked his, way up too, and then maybe some people will care. And if you're just some bro who's starting, not to discourage anyone, because I like when people try to go off on their own, but like, and you have no following at all, even if you have this awesome new product that can actually win people money, you're going to struggle like 95% of the time. And that's just the fact. It's just really tough out there. And I'm not even sure how big the audience for this world is.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I know. I keep hearing through the space is like, in particular with DFS, like how much it's shrinking and whatever. And it's like, it bugs me out because like, I put up like a Chiron on my videos at the beginning because I've learned you have to show some authority in the beginning so people will watch your video and whatever. So I put like over 100K in DFS wins. And actually, in one of my runs, I remember Brian had lovingly tweeted me like, oh, let anybody win a tournament these days, when I had my biggest DFS win of about 60K in NBA DFS. But it's like that run set me up to buy this house, which now my family lives in. We moved here to, closer to my wife's family in the Philadelphia area, and like set me up to like be able to make a little more choices. I chose poorly. I took the Football Outsiders job over one. I got an offer for NBC Sports to do their betting manager role under Ed Williams over there, people who know that space. And like terrible choice in hindsight, but like I got to kind of take my time and choose a job I wanted to do. So like DFS has been great to me. And I know, I'm sure you guys feel similarly. It makes me sad to think like that's a kind of a dying sport right now, because largely neglect, I think, from both DraftKings and FanDuel. And obviously Underdog is now doing more with Battle Royales, but the pick'em stuff is where that's buttered. But yeah, like it's one of those things where I'm sad DFS is going away, like kind of, or it feels like it. And I would love to, can we youth it up? Can we talk to the kids on Madden and get them to play DFS again?
A couple things on that. One that did, I don't know if you guys saw it earlier this week, the ETR guys had a deposit bonus deal with DraftKings in advance for the Masters that was specific for them. I just pulled it up to see: deposit $10, get an additional $10 ticket to use in their Masters Millie Maker. I had not seen a DraftKings DFS deposit bonus affiliate partnership like on my timeline or come across my desk in ages. Like that actually seemed like, wait, obviously ETR has contacts over there, and I'm sure, talked with them to get this done. But that I was like, whoa, that I haven't seen that in forever.
It's been a while.
I mean, I've heard that. I don't want to spoil the pot, but I think Stochastic might be doing something similar because I was talking to them about a different DK thing with them. I'm hoping they take it seriously. I'm hoping they take best ball more seriously. Like, I think it would be hard for me if I were DraftKings or FanDuel to look at what Underdog is doing right now. Even what Profit Exchange is doing. Like, I don't follow those guys super closely, but they're getting out there. People are creating content around their platform. They're clearly building some sort of engagement on Twitter. I don't know if it matters to the bottom line as much, but like DraftKings and FanDuel, I think, need to put some money back in the ecosystem. And personally, I'd love to see it for best ball as somebody that's not exclusive to Underdog. But I think it's really like there's no incentive for you to stream a DraftKings draft really besides, the 1,000 viewers you'll get because you have no way to push them to deposit or make money for selling rankings. I guess you can. And I think that's a real flaw if they're going to keep trotting out these gigantic tournaments. Like their best ball tournament right now pre-draft is only 20% filled with 2 weeks ago. It's like put in effort or don't.
Is that true on that fill rate? I didn't even.
Yeah, I checked it this morning because like I was actually trying to find somebody to reach out to over there, but I think I'm gonna work through Stoke. I mean, well, I don't want to, but like I think I'm gonna try to let somebody else who knows people there to talk on my behalf. But yeah, like I think they need to promote best ball. And I hope they do. I mean, from personal interest, I would like them to promote more.
I would.
Go ahead, Brian.
I said I would attribute that to incompetence, honestly. Like, because there's a school of thought out there that like they only want to put money in sports betting because the money edge is slightly better or whatever, and it's not worth. It's like that's not how companies work, and it's like Walmart would be like, oh well, we're gonna not sell this because it doesn't make any money, or Amazon's a better example, right? Like, why go into all these different sectors like we were just talking about? Their tech sector. A lot of people don't even know they do have a giant business. So like they can make money with best ball, and they can make money with.
They just want you on iCasino, but if nothing else, then fine, pay for best ball and use it to move people to iCasino. Like. Yeah, I wish they would pay me to do iCasino. Like I don't know how you start doing that, but I could click a button and spin and stare at a wheel mindlessly for hours. That seems fine.
Did you see our girl T Math is going full iCasino?
I didn't. Well, I know the CPA is there because we were talking with somebody about it with probably it's like $1,000 versus $100, and obviously if they're giving you 1,000, they must be making 5,000 at least off that. So iCasino is like, how could you trust that in a million? I don't know.
Let me help our viewer retention here. I'm pulling this up just for the text. I literally just wanted to get the text. Exciting news. I have now joined the All In Casino family. Get ready for giveaways, slot streams, and exclusive casino content. Won some on the slots today. Follow All In HQ and the Slot Squad to follow along on the fun. I read Taylor Mathis content for the tweets, just like people read Playboy for the articles. Okay?
She's pregnant now too, so she's extra full of content these days.
Yeah. iCasino content. That's depressing.
The placement of the slot machine, she's gonna have to work on that. I mean, marketing wise, it really should go over the face. Let's be real.
Well, kind of dovetailing with what we were talking about before, Spags, and I'm curious how you think about this coming from like the intersection of Barstool and now kind of doing a lot of things that, you just strongly believe in, that you think is really good, strong content. And this is something I think about all the time. I've been thinking about it lately, of this idea of like what it takes, and to Brian's point of being like a self-marketer and how hard you have to hammer things if you want things to spread, if you want it to have virality and, find a large audience versus just making really good content, things that you care about. Those things push up against each other and don't often seem like they can work in concert together. And that can be frustrating, especially if you think you do have something really good, but you don't have the stomach to be some, just egregious self-promoter. So like, how do you think of that dynamic, knowing kind of those two worlds of like what succeeds in content versus like how you want to do things?
It's tough. Like, honestly, people may not even realize it because who cares? Again, nobody's really paying attention to you, but I don't even tweet anymore at this point. Like, Twitter makes me uncomfortable, to be honest, like with some of the stuff and, contributing to somebody's money. I don't know. I love where it goes in general, what it's doing. So that kind of has been a thing for me the last few months where I've stepped back. I'll still retweet stuff. I'll still reply to people on there. But I don't want to like post content because like, not that whatever peddling views I'll get matter, but it just feels kind of wrong to me. At a certain point, I feel like I have to change that because I do need to be better about, promoting externally as opposed to what I do right now, which is just, I go on YouTube, I create the content, I promote as well as I can on YouTube, try to keep people when they're in here. Like my watch time has always been really good. My engagements per video are also really good. So I'm kind of I'm doing the exact opposite where I'm like relying on word of mouth, like a mom and pop shop, but it's what makes me happy and it makes enough money. And to go back to sort of the initial concept of the video, like I think that's how you can make money right now with, micro influencing, I think is what people would call it, but mostly, building a community of people you trust and, that see you do something. Like a couple years ago, I think started to do more. I would show my fantasy cruncher process a little bit as part of like a showdown video and what I would build. And just like, here's what an optimal lineup is. It'd be really basic stuff, but people just didn't see that often at that point. And now it's like, I can use stochastic sims on a show. I can also run the solver sims and, do an affiliate deal with both. I'd love to work with Saber Sim too, honestly, if that wouldn't piss Stochastic off too much. Because like Stochastic's affiliate money is probably my biggest driver of revenue right now. But being able to show people the products honestly and be like, I love what Stochastic's doing here, but like, I don't agree with this, but here's what you get out of it. Here's who their top ROI players are as of 3 hours before the slate. So you're not really giving away their IP, but you're also giving a reason for people to take the product and still giving them value. Like that's sort of what appeals to me the most is like showing what a real process is for any of this stuff, whether it's best ball, DFS, betting, and then letting people see it with ideally premium tools that maybe they don't have access to that it would actually add value, not just like bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to being okay of like, I would rather make content or a product that resonates very, very strongly with a small group of people than to have to make a watered down version or something that I'm not as proud of, or I don't think is good that I know would have wider mass market appeal.
Yeah. It's a choice. Like it's a choice you have to make. Like I think and honestly, I know people make this joke, especially in our space. It's like, I could do redraft dynasty, blah, 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 and get 1 million views. And it's like, I don't know that I get 1 million views, but I know I could probably do similar things to what some people out there do. But would it make me happy? I don't know. Like I'd be okay doing it. I'd be okay. Like I was actually thinking about it today before the show. Like in a perfect world, I guess I would like DM Sal Vetri, be like, hey Sal, can you just plug me into like the Sal Vetri ecosystem and I do a Spags version of it and you take half my revenue? And like, and that just is what it is. And it'd probably be okay. And it would be fine by me because like I would just know the deliverables and all of that. And like, here, I got to get this TikTok done by this point and put this fucking title on it. But would that make me as joyful as it is like to talk about an NBA slate and have bits or like for April Fool's Day, I have a puppet of my Stochastic co-host Eric Lindquist over here. I just did a video like an hour talking as a puppet on April Fool's Day. I can't do that and like do fucking TikToks that are meant to be generalists. So like, what do you enjoy? Try to make money off it. I guess what I'm hoping works out.
It sounds like a lot of cope to me here where
yeah,
like, of course you
can. Right.
You can't be T-Math, Spags. It's not going to happen. I know you want to, but it's funny that I do think that the slop, let's call it slop. The slop is probably with the easy money, but I do think there is like with Sal Vetri, or whoever else like that. I do think there is a little bit of cope. This isn't with Spags, but like yeah. It's hard. It's still hard to do what they do. Don't fool yourself. Get bro out there. Just like I was saying earlier, like somebody might have some cool app and be like, listen, I guarantee this will make you 5% on blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, good luck selling it, buddy. I bet you don't get fucking 15 subs, And so like, it's hard to be that popular.
And I think when people, I think about that too, Specs, because I hear that a lot when people levy that criticism to like lowest common denominator content. What most people are probably correct is I could do one piece of that, or I could do that one video. I could do that one article. I could do it. It's the showing up day after day and being completely relentless with it and just saying, I'm going to be a fucking bulldozer that keeps going and going and going. That's the secret sauce. That's the thing you're not going to do. Like when people say like, oh, I could do it. It's like, you're not going to put out 4 TikToks a day over and over and over and over again. That's what differentiates them, because it's easy for people to look at the finished product and be like, I could have had those insights. I could have done that. But it's all of the repetition and the consistency of it that makes those guys successful in who they are. And then people like us can look back and say, we know what actually goes into doing that. Is that something we want to do? Could we do that over and over again without it feeling soul sucking, with it feeling fulfilling? And I think that's where the rub is there.
Well, it's like Alex Caruso. I know you guys have talked about before too. And like, I don't know him personally. I think he follows me on Twitter because he liked Stochastic a while ago or something when he started out. And it's like, what he does, like where you're putting the stuff out there and maybe you're wildly wrong sometimes. Like I think he's been very prominently enough, but I don't know his overall record, but he just keeps going out there and he'll deal with people who just like have to sling and arrow him and whatever. And like, presumably doesn't block him. He just lets him keep doing it forever. That's hard. Like I don't enjoy that. I frankly, part of the Twitter I also don't like too, besides whatever political things you might want to go into, are just like, I don't want to reply to people who don't know shit. Like there's a couple people on there who like, even, I'm not going to call out names, but I'll call out one guy who I don't like very much. This rotosurgeon guy on there. Like one of the loudest I'm so right guys who's never fucking right. And he'll like tweets after like months after because you said something to him that like was vaguely wrong. Like I had some take about Miles Sanders. Like there's no, it was just so fucking stupid. But like Miles Sanders, like not a great pass catching back, but nobody else has been in Philadelphia either. So that's like probably more of a Jalen Hurts thing. And like he liked to tweet when like Miles Sanders like dropped a pass like 9 months later about me saying that. And I'm like, how fucking like, that's insane. Like, it's not even like we had a disagreement. We're both USC alums. Like, and it's like, you have to be that weird about it. So like, if people don't put the work in, like I went to Football Outsiders to learn football. Like I wanted to learn everything I could about a sport and hop in and like talk about it as intelligently as I can. And like, I don't want to answer people that don't like do the work. Like I don't need that. Happy to help if they want to learn more. But like, if there's fucking yelling through it, I don't need it.
I think there's a generational thing too, Pete. We've talked about this a couple of years ago. I think younger guys who grew up with the internet, like as it made huge part of their life, you know, a more mature internet than, you know, like dial up and shit like that. You know, I'm not sure you guys had, but I had growing up, like a mature internet. I think they're just way more used to it, asking for money, you know, like, cause like, I feel like my generation or something, if a bro gives you $2 or $5, you're like, fuck you, dude. Don't give me, you know, like, keep your $2. Like, it's weird, you know, it's a weird thing to do, but it's just completely normal now. Right. And with, you know, super chats or whatever, you know, anything like that, liking someone's post would be weird, you know, like you don't like my post, you fucking weirdo. What the fuck are you doing? You know, yeah. I mean, I know this probably sounds crazy to the majority of the audience, but like, I think it's a very generational.
Well, and I think in that specific example, it is fascinating how people tie their personalities or their identities to social media. And now everyone approaches it in different levels. Like I'm like you, Spags. I barely post outside of promotional, just letting people know shows are happening and don't spend that much time interacting on it. But then you'll get someone like that, the guy you just described, who has clearly wrapped their entire identity in this platform. Like they are living and dying by every like, every retweet. It is their social identity. It is who they are. I am the guy who has this following on Twitter. They're coming at this with an entirely different intensity, you know, than you. And it's like, that's the weird thing about it too, is people use it for such different ways. And it's like, you know, the dumbest version of it was like, oh, I need a sarcasm font on there. And the whole reason people say that is because like, oh, I'm using it as this like disaffected shit posting thing and you're taking me seriously. You know, it's like that stuff plays out constantly on social media.
But it's like, it's not that I'm the same thing, but like, look, I put a lot of time into knowing football, especially from like last year I did football. I did big boards the moment it opened. I did the Davis Maddox schedule last year, and this year he just out hustled me and I was trying to negotiate for a better deal. So it is what it is. But like, I put a lot of time to know this stuff. So like you know, for most things I could tell when people don't really put in the time, but it's like, you have people on Twitter that are like, this scientist with their PhD and their peer-reviewed paper is an idiot. And here's why. And it's like, I can't take that level of where the media has gone. And like, I was a journalism grad at USC. So like, I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say snobbish about it, but like journalism used to mean something. And now it's just like, I follow NBA Central and that's where I'm getting my NBA journalism from for the most part. And it's like, it's sad. That's what it's come. And I don't know. Again, that feels like a very boomery take to have though.
Couldn't you see like Alex Caruso though, like the difference, like growing up from a mature internet where you like, well, ever since you're like 7 years old, you know that there's trolls online. You know, if you post something that you're going to get some idiot saying, and you just don't care. Like if you started with that at 6, 7, 8 years old, it doesn't affect you the same.
And you know what's interesting about that though, Brian? It's like, I think some of the people who are going for a much wider audience that have blown up on these various things, it's easier to actually have that sense of detachment, right? Because you're like, you're literally just another dot or another, you know, single dash on my, you know, infinite list of followers or whatever. It's easy to be like, you don't matter. You don't matter. I'm playing to this amorphous, ambiguous crowd, where I think when you do approach it from more of like the bottom up way, where you're like building a fan base and you're connecting with people in your YouTube chat or in your Discord, those things do hurt. Like if people, you know, say that shit, then it like really stings because you know them. It's almost easier to just brush it aside. Like Anon Twitter egg, like, I don't know you. Whereas if someone who's in all of my chats says something really incisive, then I'm like, fuck, man, like that really stings. And I do think that's the other thing about like how you approach like the content in the internet is like what level of detachment you can have with it. And if you're making stuff for your core audience of fans, it's harder to have that kind of detachment.
I mean, I can even say just like from the Bad Bros Hoops channel, fucking Easy hates me for some reason. I don't know why. At one point somebody sent me a message. I was like, this guy's always talking shit about you. I'm like, okay. So like I saw it and I'm like, why? Like, why is this the case? And at one point he was like in the same draft with me and like posted on the Hoops channel, like, here comes my bitch, like whatever, like one of the meme things. And I'm like, you end up being in the spot sometimes where it's like, I don't know, like people develop a hatred for you. And even that like kind of bothers me where it's like, I think it's some other world. We like similar things. We probably would get along well, but it's like people develop like, it's like 50 Cent, like why fuck me? Like why you say fuck me for kind of thing. And that just bothers me. Like, I think it's one thing where I was online from, like age 10 on. So like, I feel like I should have enough of the callous. I've been hit on by pedophiles, I'm sure, on an AOL chat room at some point. But I still am like, I take it personally when people are like weird with you. Cause it's like, or just don't like you even. Because like you want to be liked, especially if you haven't done anything to like fuck that person over in any way.
Yeah. I'm saying these youngsters are damaged, Pete. So you guys are coming at this from a healthy mindset.
You're the one it's your job to save them, Brian. One Madden game.
I only have so much time. Okay. And they don't all play Madden apparently. And a lot of them are like 40 in their 40s, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, the other thing kind of talking about like the content stuff and trying to, reach a wider audience and Spags, I wonder how you feel about this is like, when you are in a good spot, and like, fortunately, I feel like I've been in this lane for a while where I haven't done like the starving artist thing where you're constantly having to decide, do I need to do this just to make money? Like, this is a gig, this is a job. Maybe it's not my favorite thing to do. Or do I feel like I can find the sweet spot of doing things I want to do and make money? And I think that's the interesting thing of like, and if as you get gigs and lose gigs, you're constantly having to think through that of like, do I do this just to get money? Or is this something I have the luxury to pass on because I know it wouldn't be fun for me or whatever?
Yeah, and that's tough. And I think too, that's something where, initially it's part of the idea of this video, I think, is like, I hear from a lot of like young creators who I think want to make the move up or hoping that they do like best ball streaming and then they get, like a sweetheart underdog deal. And it's like, oh, cool. Like, you're a streamer. We value you now. Here's $5K a month. And frankly, like, I would love to have that too. I think the reality is people don't realize that's not going to happen. And then like, you kind of have to make it happen for yourself. You have to convert for somebody, whether it's an underdog, whether it's a prize picks, whether it's a dabble that AstroTurf's YouTube chats of mine sometimes. Like, that's sort of what you have to do is you have to make money for somebody to make money for yourself. And I'm lucky to have like some partners like Stochastic. I do enough affiliate stuff for, and they pay me as a contractor. And like, it's a nice relationship to have without being there full time and kind of having a deal with that stuff. But like Fantasy Points, I found, at least, I don't know if I'll do it again this year, but like does some stuff with NFL. I know same thing for Neil in the chat. Like, having partners like that, I think help you out a lot, where it's like, you're not full time, but you're adding value to them. And like, you can make it work a little bit more. But yeah, otherwise it's just like you're hunting what you're killing, and that could be great if you're Alex Caruso, but less so if you want to do it in a precious kind of quote unquote premium way.
Pete, wouldn't you say this is for like both of you guys? Isn't it kind of baked in for you guys? Because there's kind of like, you either go the slop direction, right? Or you're really trying to like give value an edge direction. I guess there's an in between, but really those are the kind of two buckets. And if you are on the I'm going to give you value side, and you start like betraying those principles and selling, the casino slot machine links, you're going to lose your audience that you've built.
Yeah.
So you don't really have a choice. You could choose the quick money, but then you're fucking yourself.
Could you do it intelligently? I think would be the question. Or like, for Pete, would he be entertaining doing it? Would I be? I would hope you would get that out of it. So I think it's almost like you trust your audience to see it differently. But I agree, if you did too much of that, like if you're, trying to be a premium DFS streamer, if you're given like intel like Pete does for like the Battle Royale stuff in the Deposit Kingdom, and then you do, some stuff that's less than, people might change their perception of you. But I would hope that enough people get it. I think, at least my sense is that people sort of get the quote-unquote game more.
Yeah,
maybe. But like, you could do like a manscaping, like ad, and they'll get that for sure. But you can't do like the T math. Like, this week I just got signed by some iCasino thing. Here, look at my tits.
Yeah,
good try.
I was even, you mentioned Prophet X, and it made me think I saw Worldwide Wob, right, who has a massive NBA audience. And I was thinking, every single time I go to his or see him,
he's got a new thing.
He has a new sponsor. I was like, it was Prophet X. It was so rare. He was with the Underdog. I'm pretty sure he did Prize Picks. There's probably a few more. And I was just like, every month I'm like just going through them. And I'm also like, he doesn't integrate them that strongly into his content from what I've seen in a way that his audience probably doesn't feel like that burned by it. But also it's kind of just like, I guess it goes back to, is it like, are they just the presenting sponsor? Are you now like really pushing people to go sign up on these sites? But it is just this weird thing of like, at what point does your trust that you built up with your audience wear out? Or they're just like, oh, you're on to the next sponsor. Like, is it really that great of a site if it's the 5th one you've done in 6 months kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I know Wob a little bit personally. Like at one point, he was at this company Cycle that was funded by Casey Wasserman, like that Wasserman agency and whatever. And like had a really cool office in Brooklyn Bridge. I like the guy personally, but like his stuff has always been like a little bit of a grift, where like he followed a bunch of people on Twitter initially, then kind of the people followed him back, and that boosted the numbers. Now I think he does a great job with NBA coverage, but like, if you do keep getting new deals every year, at least from what I know of the space, and it might not be the case for him, maybe he just keeps getting sweet money from everybody else. It tells me you're not converting enough for the last place. Like when you see these deals end, first moves to another one, it's usually like, cool, I cleaned up the turf here. Now I'm gonna go to this one, clean up the turf here. Then this one will give me a stock, because they'll hope that they're the one that unlocks my power for converting new signups. And that's the part of the game that more power to them. Like anybody could find money. I'm never gonna shit talk it, but that's what it is.
Well, that's another good point of like, what is sustainable too, right? And like, it even seems to me exhausting to have to be churning through different sponsors, right? And like a lot of them, even in the DFS and sports betting space, like that's kind of like the game you're playing right now. The money is obviously with the sites. And we see the Carusos and those guys, like the reason there's a new one on their site each day is because they max it out. Like you reach your audience, and once they've experience that success of converting, let's say 5,000 users to a new site, and then it just stops, or maybe it's just like a slow trickle. Then it's like, all right, what's the next site I can get 5,000 people onto? It's an interesting incentive system for the creator with regard.
That starts getting into some like more like morally not even gray area. Like, do you even care that like people who follow you are gonna like have like a 25% chance of getting rugged? Like, like did you vet these companies at all? That's definitely a little farther than some of the stuff we've been talking about, I think.
Yeah.
What just like kind of the difference between selling out, I guess would be the term, or just sticking to, I don't know, whatever the opposite of that would be.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to kind of what I was saying of, if you keep your audience at an arm's distance, that they're just this mass of 100,000 people on Twitter, them coming at you, calling you out, hey, your picks didn't hit. Hey, you just signed up for another site. What are you doing or whatever? It's just like, I'm just keeping you at an arm's distance. Like I'm throwing it out there. I'm playing, I'm interacting with my audience on a different level that other creators aren't. Whereas like, I think all three of us would feel really like just weird and icky about approaching something that way. And we'd have a lot of people that we cared about, that we think were smart people, calling us out for our actions. And that would be hard to, I think, sit with.
Yeah, even products that I wouldn't believe in, like the stuff that I've promoted is like I've promoted Unbaited's betting tools. I've promoted like Stochastics DFS and sim tools. I've promoted the Solver stuff in NFL season a little bit more. Again, like a Saber Sim, I think is another great. But I'm not doing this video just to promote the Saber Sim. I hope that they'll give me an affiliate deal. But like I would promote products I know work and have some value, because like I think that's sort of also how you build trust. Like they pay for it, they got at least some value to it. They might still get smoked in DFS because that's how that goes, unfortunately. But your hope is that you give them the tools to at least have a shot at being profitable, which I think most of us are looking for in general on most slates. That's the hope, but I agree, when you dilute it too much and people have a bad experience with the product, that would be something that would be a little bit hard. But people can also get away with not doing that too. Like the meme coin stuff, like people rug pull their audience all the time and like somehow survive it and move on. So I don't know. Maybe that's just a change in the world too.
Once you get out to that like 600th person, Pete, and I guess I'm defending some of the stuff. It is.
No, I always appreciate you helping play it a little contrarian side of the argument here.
It is a far away, relationship compared to like people in your Discord who you've known, for a long time and interacted with. Like the further it gets out, I could just see him. I'm not saying he's doing what they do is right, but I could see him rationalizing it away pretty easily. But I don't even know if someone's following me. Click that link. Maybe it's just they saw the post through their scrolling on TikTok. They don't even follow me. They don't like me, and they want to use the link. Who gives a shit? I bet I'm sure they can quickly rationalize it away. The further it gets from that Dunbar number, like when you're way out there. with 500,000 followers, they probably could just rationalize it away.
What about turning the tables on you, Brian, in in-game syndicate? How do you guys think about marketing? Are you guys looking to hire a Taylor Mathis-esque figure to get your sim content out to the masses?
There's been an offer made.
What kind of offer is the follow-up question?
Well, Nerdy Tenor is the father, so we're going to announce that here. No, okay. He might not like that joke. He's a married man. He would never do that.
I'm just imagining replacing Davis on like the BR Sim streams with Taylor. And it's you, Nerdy's keyboard, and Taylor Mathis walking us through.
Me, Dan, and T-Man doing in-depth game theory.
I bet T-Math would do a better job following the Sim suggestions.
She would at least pick the fucking picks. God damn. Davis does pick them when they 100% overline with who he already wants, though, in his defense. Yeah, I bet I bet she definitely can rationalize away. Like, who gives a shit? Like, these guys are objectifying me, So go to the iCasino, you big dummies. But yeah, we do no marketing, Pete, and not even on this show, basically. So like, we need some help there, probably.
Yeah. And again, that like you guys are even, I mean, obviously we're talking about like sim products and DFS tools. I mean, you are talking about the ultimate, teaching people how to fish as opposed to giving them fish type stuff, which is naturally going to select to a really small audience. A lot of the people who care about the things you guys care about, I do think already follow you, right? Like the market for what you guys are probably trying to do is you're then trying to take probably people that are like Splash Play subscribers, my subscribers, Badge Bro subscribers, people who are trying to level up their play. Mm-hmm. That's really like what you guys are trying to tap into. Maybe ETR subs who are like, I really like all the content in the tools, but I want to think even deeper about this stuff from like a game theory level. Like you guys are almost trying to be an extension of everyone else already interacting with the DFS space. So like, you do have a big market for it, I think, still. It's just how do you get that out there and let those types of people know it exists?
Yeah, I don't know how big the market is. I think it's smaller than a lot of people outside the business realize. But like, I think ETR's probably done it best, right? They probably have the most. Stochastic's done a good job too, don't get me wrong. But ETR's really kind of stuck to, I think, the same kind of model of this is going to be, there might be player take value, it might be solver value, it might be whatever, but
they're more mainstream. And I can say that having been on stochastic stuff for a while, like, the audience for that is DFS players, bettors who are doing it daily. Whereas ETR, it's like you have, random guy who plays his season long league who knows Levitan. And like, I think they have a lot of that kind of crossover appeal more, credit to them. And
because Levitan and Silva had such big followings beforehand, it carried over, but they've spent years building that up, before like a ton of that was baked into ETR's value when they signed on, which of course is good for them. But like, other than that, I'm not sure how big you can really get it. And I'm not like, it really comes down to this like slop or value kind of thing. Like, is there really a world where you can get a ton of subs from this ecosystem of bros who want to like put in time and get better? I'm not sure there is. Like here, like one thing I'll just tell like briefly, like one idea we had is like putting Yuda's MLB projections on the Draft Caddy, Pete, and then chart like whatever, like not much for it. And like, you can't scrape it. You can't use it in DFS, right? Because it's on the overlay. Like, I don't even know how you would do that, but you could use it for building lineups by hand. You could use it for. I
would use that where I'm at as an MLB player right now because I've been dabbling and I'm like, that would be perfect because I'm not like creating or downloading any other projection.
If you do MLB drafts on Underdog or whatever, and like I'm like, okay, you could charge cheap for that. Like maybe something like that would carry over to where you can get thousands of subs in theory, but I'm not sure how much crossover there is between the lottery parlay bro who would follow T-Math and Alex Caruso and someone who wants to watch Nerdy Tenor talk to
I
Matic.
think that Venn diagram is extremely.
I'll tell you what,
extremely
I
solid.
love Nerdy Tenor. Your streams with him and Davis are like some of the most enjoyable content, both for the stuff you guys mentioned before and the push pull of Davis not actually picking the players, but like the way that Nerdy Tenor thinks about stuff. Like I love hearing it, and I think that's another. Again, I know we're going long here, but like that's another issue I feel like is the thing too. Is people don't want to really get better at things. They don't want to listen to the Nerdy Tenors and learn how to like improve your game enough, and that's where I think if you get ubiquity amongst these players, these channels of mediocre DFS players like me, and maybe you get that audience then to go like, oh, here's the guys who are really smart and they want to, they want to learn from you and get better at a thing. But I think the younger audiences, like the people following the Carusos of Nathuses, like they probably just don't care about getting better at it. They just want something to do for the day. Yeah, that's it.
And honestly, this was your company too. Like your company, who we had on 2 weeks ago, Pete, I can't remember the name of the company, Billy Betts. Like these ideas are kind of to bridge that gap, in my opinion. Because like you wanted like, okay, I want the parlay, bro. Here, look, you could use this app and you'll do better and you can bet on whatever the hell you want. Basically, you can't make any negative EV bets, but like look through this app or have Billy Betts do it for you, kind of trying to bridge that gap between the T-Math, bro, and giving them some value. I think those attempts are going to continue. People are going to come up with some creative stuff to bridge, the odd shopper or whatever to the masses. I don't know how well it's going to go. Maybe somebody will figure it out, but I think it's going to continue. Go ahead, Pete.
And I think one thing I've noticed, I'm obviously with in-game syndicate, and I think a lot of the content, and I know I've thought about it a lot. Like there are a lot of things I've learned through DFS principles, through thinking about game theory that have been able to apply to other facets of my life, sometimes on a very simple level of just like understanding statistics and probabilities better to like, thinking through other things. And I do think a lot of people view this as like a fun way to build up skills that maybe it helps you in your day job and all of other aspects of your life. And maybe at the fundamental basis of like, there's a hunger for learning in that's different than just raw consumption of entertainment. And maybe that's where the line is of like, if you're just watching a TikTok and making a bet, like that's entertainment, yada, yada. But I think a lot of the people who consume the stuff that we all make are interested in like getting more out of it than just entertainment at times.
Yeah, I mean, I've had guys in my Discord mention that they like, there's a couple guys who used to be at Stochastic with me, Terry McBride, will give them the shout out, and Gundacker. And like those guys will do streams where it's like an MLB afternoon slate where like Stochastic doesn't view that as a profitable enough time to do a stream, run pure, same thing, ship it, same thing. So they'll do streams at those times. And those guys like that. It's like, oh, I could play a slate at 2 p.m. and these guys are gambling with me and setting me up for theoretically success. And I think that could be a way to do it because, like, if you are a smaller creator, especially and you want to do DFS stuff, it's like reaching those 100 people at a time that really care about this thing and maybe that are in market for it. But that's like even niche on a niche compared to me being niche already.
The whole thing is super complicated too because it might not even be worth it going after them because, like, as Spags experienced and I've experienced, like you have to charge to pay the bills for like shit that like you have to pay for that they don't even know about, and then these guys probably aren't really good sources. They don't want to pay, the cost and upkeep of the company that it would take to pay for that. They just want, the fucking walking bets, bro. They just want the parlay and hopefully it hits, but they're not going to be in the market for $100 a month, something, which I know it sounds like a lot, which it is, of course, to an everyday normal person. But like when you're paying, thousands of dollars for it, you have to get, once you're a legitimate company, you have to get licenses for a lot of this data and stuff like that. They cost money. And so like a lot of that, it's not going to the company anyways. So like it might not be worth it to go after them.
Yeah. Well,
unless you're also like DraftKings. And so there's like this whole, slop meets slot. Like it's great for DraftKings and great for T-Mac. Like there's that symbiotic relationship can happen. But for the creator economy, bros, I don't know. I don't know if like bridging that gap, what we were talking about. Obviously, it works for Alex Caruso and stuff like that. Like I'm not denying that. But maybe like the bridging the gap of trying to provide this value that you guys want to do to the slot bros. I don't know if it's going to be tough.
So what's next for you, Spags? Like what is your kind of content play look like? Where are you going to be devoting your time? Because I assume like not having probably on your to-do list frees up a ton of time.
Yeah, so basically at this point, I'm a contractor at Stochastic, so you catch me on some of their live before lock shows for MLB, deeper dive shows for NBA. Though that's over, but I'm on there sporadically. Usually 3 times a week, sometimes 4. So that's one spot. My Splash Play is now at Splash Play Bets. I changed the town too, so like instead of walking bets, I have Splash Play Bets. But it was Splash Play NBA initially because I was doing NBA streams every day with Unabated's partnership there. Now I'll be doing some MLB on there, some NBA, but basically that'll be my home for daily kind of transactional stuff. And at Splash Play Pod for NFL, doing the best ball draft stuff, going to ramp that up post NFL draft, because I know Brian will know this more. And I think Pete, you're knowing it more too now. You're doing some MLB, but like the crossover information for NBA, MLB, and even NFL this time of year, like I haven't done all 3 at the same time before. Even when I was at Stochastic, I would have usually 2 sports at a time, not 3. My brain has been bleeding from doing all 3 at once this last month or so. So having that kind of ramp down, my at Splash Play Pod, at Splash Play Bets channel will be good. And promo code Splash and everything, for the love of God. If you haven't taken promo code Pete, use promo code Splash on Stochastic, Unabated, Underdog. Those are the big 3.
All right. Bric, any other in-game syndicate promotion you want to do, since you guys aren't doing any promotions, you said?
We got Udis MLB projections. If anyone wants the best DFS player of all time's personal MLB projections.
Love it.
I don't remember the code. Hold on.
You got to do it now, Brian. You got to pull it up. Well, I'll wait. I know if Pete can wait.
It's like Uda MLB or something like that.
No, you need see Spags had it down pat. You just have an easy code Splash, and you put the same one everywhere. You need to streamline this, Brian.
See, this was this was Taylor Mathis supposed to be her job promoting this. That's why I didn't memorize it.
That's right.
Oh wait, I think it's on the website.
And also, but before we log off too, I just want to say, just so you guys know, your show, I know everybody says it to you when they're on here, one of my favorites to watch every week, but also you two are both 2 of my favorite people in the space. So I appreciate you guys getting to hang out with you guys and talk about this stuff, because a little bit cathartic for me to talk about some of it publicly, just because like I don't feel the need to do it self-indulgently on my own channels.
No, we appreciate you coming on and sharing that stuff. I know it's some of it is not always just like easy to be fully transparent about, and having to abandon a project like that can be hard. I think for some people that'd be like, man, I don't want to talk about that. Like I just want to sweep it under the rug. So I appreciate you being willing to do so, and hope everybody who is not subscribed to Splash Play gets over there and does so now. While Brian still looks up this promo code.
How is it possible? Still haven't.
Do you have it?
No. I think it's you to MLB. Just go with that.
I'm starting to realize the roots of your guys' marketing issues might be even bigger than I imagined. I have another show here a few minutes at 3. Gretch, who stepped away from doing regular ship chat chasing shows, is going to swing back by for a little get together on ship chasing today at 3. And then tomorrow night after dark on the channel, I'm having Thor Nystrom from Fantasy Life in the weeds on all the NFL draft and prospect stuff. So looking forward to that chat. If you guys are a YouTube member on the channel, you'll get access to that. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out in the chat. One thing I'm noticing, Brian, already in the chat and in the Discord, people are coming at you for your poker analogies with contest integrity stuff. So have fun dealing with all of that once we're done with the show. And we will see you guys next time on Lulz. Peace.